Are you dreaming about retiring in your late 20s, 30s, or early 40s? Well, then maybe the FIRE movement's for you. FIRE stands for Financially Independent, Retire Early. Now let's dissect that first part, financially independent. In my opinion, the best definition I've heard of financially independent is when your passive income exceeds your living expenses. At this point, you have broken free. You're no longer dependent on the W-2 salary. You can do whatever you want. You can keep working, you could go and start your own business, or you can retire early. Practicing FIRE in your life involves a lot of short-term sacrifices for the great long-term benefits of financial freedom. And generally speaking, the greater you sacrifice, the sooner you can achieve financial independence. And FIRE is certainly not for everyone. And even those that are doing FIRE, there's different degrees to which ones are committed. However, whether you're doing FIRE or not, there's still so many valuable lessons in this movement that you can apply in your life that will help generate wealth and give you a quicker road to financial freedom. So let's start off with the basics. You receive a paycheck. Now, there are three things that you can do with that paycheck. You could spend it. Second, you could save it. And that right there, those first two things are what 45% of Americans are already doing, and they're not doing the third. The third option is to invest. And out of those 55% of Americans that are actually investing, most are just investing through retirement accounts, mutual funds, very passive investments. As of 2019, it was estimated that only 15% of Americans own stocks directly. This shows that many Americans are not very involved with investing beyond what's passively being done for them. However, you can differentiate yourself by gaining that financial knowledge on how to invest. My number one recommendation for people just getting started investing is to try and make that third bucket on how you spend your money, that third investment bucket, as large as you possibly can. The more that you are able to invest, the sooner that you'll be able to achieve financial freedom. You can shape your financial future by starting investing today. If you don't already have an investment, a brokerage account open, I urge any of you guys watching this video that don't have an account to open one today. Later in this video, I'll give my certain recommendations on different investments you can make and brokers and investment sites that I personally really like. So for those partaking in FIRE, one of the first steps is to identify the amount of money you need each year to live the type of life you want to live. Now, this can be important for those who aren't partaking in FIRE as well, but based off this amount that you want to have to live, you can identify how much money you need to have invested so the returns can fund that type of life that you want to live. Now, a simple calculation takes, on average, the market will yield a 7% annual return. And then after adjusting out for inflation, you can take a look at this table. So for example, if you want to have $100,000 to live on per year, you would need to have $2.5 million invested. And for someone who wants $50,000, you would need $1.25 million invested. So my first recommendation to those who are trying to achieve this financial independence is to try and get your income as high as possible. This will speed up the process of how quickly you're able to achieve financial independence. This could mean starting a new career, specifically careers that are commission-based, because this can allow for your income to increase exponentially compared to working a job where you're going to be giving gradual pay increases as time goes on. And this could also include picking up a side hustle to earn some extra cash that you can invest. Now, after looking at your earnings, then you want to look at what you're spending and try and decrease it. Now, this certainly depends on the individual or family, but there are things that you can do in your life to decrease the amount of money you spend. and thus increase the amount of money you're able to invest. For example, I recommend having a budget and also using a financial tracker like Mint so you know exactly where your money's going to. And also for those who it's a possibility, I recommend house hacking. Now, if you're not familiar with it, you should look it up, and we'll make a video on this topic in the future. So make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it. So now that you got your finances under control, now it's time to start investing. One of the best advice that I've heard is to pay yourself first. This means after you get a paycheck, of course, what do? You pay your rent, you pay your utility bills, you pay off your credit cards or your student loans, your car payment, your insurance, whatnot. But you forget to pay yourself to invest in your future. Even if you're able to invest $50 every paycheck, do this. This will help create good financial habits. And as you progress through life and your career, you'll be able to invest more and more, and you will really start building wealth over time. Let's say you're able to invest $15 a day. Now take a look at this chart. By the end of 30 years, that $15 a day will have turned into $683,000, getting a market return of 8% annually. Now, of that $683,000, only $163,000 of it was actually contributed, while the other $520,000 was generated from income off of the investment. This is the power of investing, and this is why the rich keep getting richer. For example, let's look at the bottom 50% of wage earners. 80% of their income comes from wages alone. When looking at the top 10% of wage earners, whose wages are already high, their wages only accounts for 47% of their income, while over half of their income is produced from investments. This shows that significant long-term wealth is built not through wage earning, but through investing. Now, for those of you who have debt, you might be somewhat delayed on what you can just hit the ground running with when it comes to investing, but still, that doesn't mean that you can't start now, even if it's as little as $20 a month that you're investing. My recommendation is, if you have any debt over 5%, to make that a priority to pay off as fast as possible. Or better yet, look at refinancing some of that debt. Interest rates are still very low, so if you can refinance some of that debt to under 5%, that will free up more capital that you can invest now to get those higher returns that will help generate wealth long term. Now that you're ready to invest, let's look at different types of investments. In my opinion, the fastest way that you can achieve financial independence is through investing in real estate. Now, it's also probably the most labor intensive, but there has also the biggest opportunities. Now, there's really so much to talk about real estate that we can make more videos about this in the future. But for those interested, I recommend checking out the BiggerPockets community. They have a bunch of podcasts and information about people like us on the journey to achieve financial freedom through real estate. Now let's shift our focus to talking about investing in the stock market, something that we can do today. Now, the first level of investing in the stock market is through what are called managed portfolios. This takes very little time to set up and requires very little maintenance. I recommend sites like Betterment, Wealthfront, or SOFI for a managed portfolio. You just choose the risk level that you feel comfortable with, and the platform will make all the moves for you. So you can just sit back and watch your money grow over time. Now, the next level of investing with a little more control is you can invest in an ETF. Here you can invest in all types of ETFs. You can buy a whole market ETF, or you can buy ETFs for a particular sector like energy or technology. They even have ETFs for certain countries or emerging economies or even developed countries. Now, the ETF I would recommend for long-term growth would be the ARK Innovation Fund. I have so much respect for Cathie Wood, and I agree completely that the best strategy for long-term growth is investing in innovation. So for those of you who are interested in another level of control, the third layer of investing would be individual stock picking. And for those beginning, I would recommend a more long-term approach. I would identify companies that you'll think will do well over the next 10 to 20 years, and I would invest in those companies. You can put your money here and kind of just forget about it. Don't be caught up in the day-to-day fluctuations, because you can see them go up and down. But over the long term, if you pick right, they will go up. And those are my tips for getting started investing in the stock market. And for those who are looking for a brokerage recommendation, I recommend SOFI. They have an all-in-one platform that's really good, and I'm not advertising for them. I just really like the platform. They have the managed portfolio. You can pick your ETFs or individual stocks. It's a very easy to use platform for those getting started. And they also have a really nice checking account too. So if you're looking for an all-in-one place that has everything, I would go with SOFI. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Now, is FIRE for you? Let me know in the comments. Personally, I'm not strict FIRE, but there are a lot of principles from this movement that I use in my investing and financial life. I urge all of you who are getting started to use some of these tips in your financial life to help start building wealth and taking those steps to financial freedom. Thank you guys for watching.